Welcome to the SAS video tutorial on working with text in SAS Part 2. If you haven't watched Part 1, you might want to jump back and do that. Okay, so what we're going to use today is the customer ID.csv data, and if you look in the description below, you'll find a link to the repository that has the data in it, so you can download and follow along. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this data set into the work directory, and I'm going to call it cust ID. Sometimes it's good to just show you how to do this in several videos, so if you already know how to do this, don't worry about it. I have my data on the desktop. It's called cust ID, customer ID. I'm going to open it. I'm going to call it cust ID here, cust ID, and then I'm just going to hit finish. And we can see that it read it in. We have first, last, phone, and customer ID. Now, just as a disclaimer, I randomly generated this data so that we have something to work with. This is not really anybody's real data. So you'll notice there's a whole bunch of Durfees in here and presidents' names and all kinds of things. The phone numbers were randomly generated, so if you find your phone number in there, don't be mad at me. Also, you notice that some of the phone numbers are a little bit messed up in the sense that they don't have the ending numbers, but don't worry about that. That's just because it's randomly generated, and I wanted to show you that it was. So if you see your own phone number, don't freak out and go, oh my gosh, somebody has my information. Okay, so I randomly generated this customer ID column. So this would be a person, their phone number, and the customer ID. And so what we want to do is process this because these are not easy to deal with because they have dashes in them and weird symbols and parentheses. So what we want to do is try to break this down to something that's as consistent as possible and easy to work with as possible. So let's go through and try to do that right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new data set. So I'm going to call this cust ID 2. And this is going to be read from the set of cust ID. So this is where it's going to come from. Always put your run statement. Might as well do it now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this function called compress. So I'm going to call this my new variable that I have here is phone C. Because this is going to be a compressed phone value. So the function is compress, and you'll see what this does. So I'm going to actually put in here the phone number, right? That you got to remember, you got to keep the name straight. It's actually called phone. I'm going to compress it, and I want to remove various values from it. Okay, what do I want to remove? I want to remove a space, and I'm going to put a space in there, and let's just see what this does. And then we'll come back and play with it a little bit more and see how to add more to it. So just keep that in mind as we go along here. So I'm going to run this. I created cust2, and notice that now any spaces have been removed. If I look at cust ID 1, there are spaces in the phone number. And here you really can't tell that they're gone, but they are gone when I look at phone C. Okay, so you can see here's the original phone number, here's phone C, and you can see that the space has been removed. And that's what I wanted to do to this. Now what I also want to remove is the open parenthesis and the close parenthesis. So in order to remove that, I'm just going to put in here an open parenthesis and a close parenthesis. So any symbols that I want to remove, I'm going to put in this quote. I'm not going to put them individually. I'm going to put them all together in some crazy looking thing. So let's run this again and see what this looks like. So when I look at cust ID 2, now notice that the parentheses are gone and the space is gone, but I still have the dash. In order to get rid of the dash, I'm going to actually have to put that in here as well. So I'm going to put a dash in here, and this will just go through and basically tear out or remove from our string, which it is, it's a character string, whatever symbols we put in the quotes. So you can see here phone C, we've removed everything. We've removed the space, the dash, and the parentheses. And now we just have a raw number that we can work with that is hopefully in a little more consistent manner. And this is just for storage if you're trying to reduce storage. But some people like the phone number in this format, and we could put text in this format, and we'll probably try to do that in a later video where you actually try to extract pieces from this and then concatenate them together. But we'll worry about that in another video. All right, so let's do this again for our other variable that we had in here. We had customer ID, so let's look at that real quick. It's called customer ID. So I'm just going to call it cust ID 2. And I'm going to compress this as well. And if you notice that, let's see here, customer ID, we had in this one, there was a space. I don't remember, but I do remember there was a dash and there was an ampersand. So I'm going to put all of these symbols in a string. Now, if you don't put the space in there, you won't eliminate the space. And don't forget your semicolon. Okay, so let's run this real quick and we can look and see what we have now. We have cust ID 2, and notice it's been stripped of the ampersand and the dash that's in here. Now, it doesn't care where these letters are or characters are in the string. It's just going to yank them out. So if you put a number in there like 0, every place it sees a 0 is going to pull it out of the string because it's not looking at it as a number. It's looking at it as a string. Okay, so this gives us an easy way to compress data or remove values from the string. And in order to keep these videos short, we're going to move on to the next video.